It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do. You do. From the Dixie Line Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, coming off a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, the venerable guy with his opinions from left field, John Riley, and we welcome you to Hacksaw's Headlines. Better late than never. We apologize. Technology is great until it does not work. We dodged a bullet. We've finally gotten the podcast up and running. We apologize for that, but I promise you, this is going to be a doozy, a dandy, with a lot to talk about. John Riley, good afternoon. The only word I can use to describe what you and I have both experienced, because we're in the middle of a lot of transition with our podcast, the only word I can use to describe, invoking the old military term, FUBAR. How you doing?
It's been a series of unfortunate events today, Lee. But we're back, we're live, and I'm happy to get started. Let's jump in.
Yeah, there's an awful lot to talk about. Just a couple of reminders because of the technical issues that we've been dealing with. It's called putting out fires every minute of the day. We're going to do hot topics on the table because we do sports talk the way it should be done. We won't be able to execute Fans Forum today. We're going to give you a rain check Thursday when we rejoin you at the normal starting time at 1:30. We promise we will get to all your opinions. Just a couple of other reminders. On this podcast, I write an enormous amount of sports. Want you to check my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. The best 15 minutes in radio on that website. My One Man's Opinion columns, which I write a column a day on that website, and then all the videos that we have put together, we now post on the website, and you can access from whenever, all free to you. Also want you to help us grow this podcast. Give us a thumbs up, hit the follow button. Want you to share, subscribe, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays, and at the same token, want you to give us a 5-star rating on Apple. It helps us a great deal. John, I'm ready. Here comes first pitch. Big night homestand. You ready to talk baseball?
Yeah, how about these Padres, man? They swept the Mariners in Seattle. This was unexpected.
Tell you what, great headline. The bottom of the batting order. It saved Padre baseball on this road trip, which I thought was going to be tougher. Milwaukee through Seattle. Your name is Castellanos. Your name is Sheets. Your name is Andujar. Your name is Ty France. Home runs, key hits, comebacks, spraying balls all over the yard. What an interesting 6-game road trip it turned out to be for the Padres. The bottom of the batting order has bailed them out. They beat up Milwaukee. They slapped hits everywhere against a beleaguered Seattle pitching staff. How about Sheets on Sunday? I am going to loan him my phrase, great sports weekend, because that's got to be the best weekend that Sheets has probably had in his baseball career. I mean, Sheets goes off for all those hits, 3 hits, 2 home runs, hot stroke. Get this, he was 10 for 17, 4 bombs, and 8 bases on balls in that road trip. This guy had 25 at-bats on the road trip and was on base 18 times in the 25 at-bats. That was spectacular. Castellanos, obviously, with big hits. France with 3 hits. Hey, a message to Craig Stammen. Leave these dudes in the lineup. Quit resting people. These guys are hot. Let's just keep these guys in the batting order. And in terms of the pitching staff, Michael King, Randy Vasquez, Walker Buehler, grit and grime. They're getting the job done. It's really been impressive. Now, they lose Matt Waldron. He goes on the disabled list with a bicep injury. They activated Lucas Giolito. He gave him 6 shutout innings. He pitched better than I thought he would pitch, but he's plagued by control problems. This will be a start-to-start issue for him. Meanwhile, for the Padres, They've given up on one of their pitchers, Cleveland Guardians pitcher Tristan McKenzie. He has been removed from the roster at El Paso. He's lost his ability to pitch. 14.45 ERA, his metrics, just horrible. The Padres have taken him off the active roster in the Pacific Coast League at this point in time. I don't think they know what they're going to do with him. So, John, out of the gate, what a way to start and what a launching pad to the next topic we're going to talk about. But what you saw at Milwaukee, what you saw in Seattle, did you expect that?
No, I mean, who would have expected it? Holy sheets, the California King. I mean, what a great weekend it was for him. And I just like the whole idea of him batting third on Sunday. It seemed like, he was feeling really confident in himself. He's talked about how this has been a great move for his career to be here in San Diego. And the coaches, Stammen, they believe in him. And so they put him in the number 3 spot in the order, and first AB, boom, holy sheets, it goes up into the second deck there on the right field. It was fantastic. So I love all this. But Lee, what's one thing that's kind of interesting is this whole Matt Waldron thing. I thought we were going to be saying goodbye to Matt Waldron, but yet he was just put on the DL.
Well, in essence, it's not saying goodbye to Matt Waldron. You put him designated for reassignment. You have 10 days to either trade him. Well, nobody's going to trade for a guy with a 9.28 ERA. You have 10 days to release him. You don't want to eat the contract. Or if he clears waivers, you send him back to El Paso. So it's not like we're saying goodbye, because they could still retain him. And at this point, with the way he's pitched and his track record over a year and a half, nobody's going to claim him, because the minute you claim him, he's got to go on somebody's 40-man roster and somebody's 25-man roster. So at this point in time, because of the, quote, health issue, they're going to put him on the disabled list for 15 days, and they could still DFA him or bring him back if somebody else gets hurt. So at this point in time, he's the back end of the rotation, or maybe a long bullpen guy. I don't think he's gone. Okay, so that's Padre baseball, what we just saw in Milwaukee, what we just saw in Seattle. Meanwhile, the general manager has made some statements. John?
Yeah, you want to pull up the big board here. AJ's got comments on the bats and the arms.
Yeah, AJ Preller talking openly on the weekend about the Padre pitching situation, talking openly on the lack of hitting from the biggest money players. At the end of the day, the statements are about Nick Pivetta and Joe Musgrove. The statements are, this is not black and white. These guys have specific issues. We must check off every box this time before they're going to be allowed to pitch. AJ admitting this is going to take months. We're talking now maybe into August, confirming neither one has thrown a ball. Bottom line, he did not say it. These are significant elbow injuries to both of these guys. So that's where you are with this pitching staff. The guy that he bought lottery tickets on, some have pitched well, some have not. The insurance policy, Giolito, first outing, I thought that was very positive. So that's where we are with the Padre pitching staff. In terms of the hitting, he may say this. Network TV guys last night on the NBC Sunday night game were saying it. I have a hard time buying it right now, but they're winning, and they're in this fight for first place. But he says the batting order will hit. Okay, that being said, John, here's a stat. Since April 28th, Fernando Tatis's batting average is 190. Fernando Tatis has no home runs in 46 games. Since April 28th, Manny Machado is flailing and flunking. You ready for this? Since April 28th, Manny Machado's batting average is 109. And his overall batting average for the season is now down to 185. Since April 28th, and they've moved him all over the batting order, and he's had a good game here or there, but no consistency. Jackson Merrill is hitting 194 since the end of April. Castellanos is hitting just a shade over 200. Cronenworth is on the DL with the concussion syndrome. He's batting 144. The catchers are not hitting at all. But A.J. Preller is of the opinion this team will hit. National media thinks this team will hit. At this point, this team is not hitting. But at the end of the day, the bottom of the batting order is carrying them. So your response to what the general manager said about the arms, what the general manager believes about the bats, and more importantly, with your opinion from left field, what do you think about Tatis, Machado, Merrill, and the inefficiency of the other guys?
Well, I mean, as far as AJ Preller is concerned, he has made bets this year on a lot of the other guys, right? Like Ty France and Gavin Sheets from last year and Miguel Andujar this year. He's made a lot of good moves. Now, in this case, talking about the pitchers, Musgrove, Pivetta, they're not being as transparent as you would like them to be about what the extent of the injury is, what the exact time frame is for these guys to come back. So we just kind of have to assume that they're not going to be there. Maybe they show up in August or September, but basically we have to kind of make a go with what we've got. And Giolito coming on board was really encouraging, I thought. I thought that he looked terrific, and at the very end, he had those walks, and then Matsui came in and gave up some, sac flies and things like that, which some of those runners scored, but there was a lot to like with Giolito. So imagine, if you have Vasquez, King, Giolito, you've got Walker Buehler, who is incrementally getting better and better each start. I'm starting to feel a little more optimistic. Definitely a little more optimistic. But as far as the hitting goes, you're right. Machado, Tatis, Merrill, they've been mostly offers going back for weeks. But we're starting to see glimpses of hope with Machado, with Merrill. I'm willing to kind of just put Tatis aside, because that seems like that's a multi-layer onion that you've got to peel back to find out what the real problem is. Let's just focus on getting Machado and Merrill, kind of get their on-base percentage, some power numbers. We saw glimpses of that over the weekend. And this team is only a half game out. So this is going to be fun when they play the Dodgers this coming week. But I don't know. I'm generally half glass full on the Padres.
The half glass that's empty, though, that third baseman, the back of his baseball card, is hitting 109 over the last 3 weeks. Never in my life would I ever dream it would be that bad for him. And Tatis would have a home run season that is a donut. And Merrill, who had a bad season last year, has continued to struggle at home plate. But, as you say, here we are, getting ready to face the Dodgers, fight for first place, because the bottom of the batting order has saved them. Okay, that's all things Padres baseball. We're not done. Let's go north. Let's talk about what happened. Dodgers, Angels, wow.
Yeah, this freeway series was fugly, Lee.
Nice use of the English language. The scoreboard does not lie. Let's just be honest here. The Dodgers sweep the Angels. The Dodgers destroy the Angels. The message to everybody in Anaheim, thank God there's Dodger fans that fill that stadium, otherwise your stadium would be empty. The Dodgers outscored the Angels 31-3 in the Friday, Saturday, Sunday game. How shocking was that? Ohtani on 3 days rest goes back to the leadoff spot, hits a little league home run that ricochets off the wall, turns out to be an inside the Parker. 5 RBIs, very strong weekend. Padres, Muncy, they hit home runs. Teoscar Hernandez, who hasn't hit a home run in a month, poked 1 too. Bad news, Blake Snell, tomorrow, elbow surgery, bone chips. It'll be the second time since 2019 he's had elbow surgery. They're going to use a new thing called nano needle, which is an easier surgery for him to come back from if they don't find lots of chips in there. They're going to clean it up that way, but at the end of the day, I think we're still talking the 1st of August if Blake Snell can come back. And then on top of that, the Edwin Diaz situation, he's going to get fined. Maybe he's going to get suspended. I saw the newspaper ad. Edwin Diaz, along with a Kentucky Derby jockey, newspaper ad in Puerto Rico promoting cockfighting with chickens. It's a big sport in that country. It's illegal here. But he's involved in that. That's a form of gambling. He's involved with that. Marketing, wearing his Dodger uniform. You can't do that. So Diaz has got a problem off the field there for sure. On top of that, you got the Angels situation. They have now lost 17 of their last 21. Worst record in baseball. And Jose Soriano looks like he's overworked. From the great start that he had, at one point he was there at 6-0. Now he's walking the house. Alex Manoah, how about this? The free agent they signed from Toronto. He threw 1 1/3 innings, gave up 9 runs, and allowed 9 base runners in 1 1/3. They took him off the roster over the weekend. They sent him back to AAA Salt Lake City. They rushed Grayson Rodriguez, the ex-Oriole, back to the rotation after a couple of rehab stints. He lasted only 3 innings. He gave up 7 runs, 11 base runners. It's just disastrous. Angels starting rotation, John, 4.50 ERA. Angel bullpen, 5.81 ERA. Can you believe that? And at the end of the day, time to hold Perry Minasian accountable. John, he's been the general manager for 6 years. The composite record with all the decisions he's made on player personnel, write this number down. 314 wins, 483 losses in his 6th year. And we might be looking now, they have set sail on probably what is another 100-loss season. It is just awful. I think it's time for them to hold the general manager accountable. I don't want to hear any press conferences with any positive vibes that we're going to work through this. You've had 6 years, and it's worse now maybe than it's ever been before. So, John, talk Dodger baseball, talk Halo baseball, talk about the Freeway Series.
I mean, when I saw the line score or the box score on Alex Manoah's line for 1 1/3 innings, I couldn't believe it. I mean, just the amount of traffic he had on the bases, it just goes to show you that you're right. I mean, Perry Minasian's, his choices have not worked. And I mean, can you really point to certain deals where you thought that Minasian kind of outsmarted the league? Maybe Minasian, flipped a guy. I mean, we can look at AJ Preller and we could talk about his deals, Andrew Friedman, their deals. A lot of good deals, very few questionable ones, but I can't think of a good one the Angels have made. Can you?
What they've done is buy low with the hope they can hit high on somebody coming off injuries. Virtually every one of the pitchers that you and I spent the winter talking about that they were, quote, renting has failed. Virtually all of them are on the disabled list or back in the minor leagues, and the ones that are still there can't get anybody out. So this is Minasian making judgments that didn't work out. Is it the end result of Artie Moreno telling Minasian, you can't spend more than $150 million on their payroll, go find players at whatever we can afford, and that's it. So there's lots of blame to be spread around, but at the end of the day, the general manager is the one that makes the final decisions, who they're going to take a run at, who they're going to trade for, who they're going to let go. This roster is just an utter disaster right now.
Yeah, it's just awful. And speaking of the Dodgers, hey, what's your take on the pickups of what's his name? He came from the Diamondbacks, Alek Thomas, the center fielder, and then just recently Eric Lauer, I noticed, signed with the Dodgers. He was the Dodger killer when he was a pitcher for the Padres.
Well, Lauer's been hot. Lauer's been cold. His composite record, I think, is 44-42 with a high ERA. But he's gone from prospect in San Diego to Toronto on to Milwaukee and then just released. He had a good year last year. He had a 3.18 record last season. You thought maybe back end of the rotation. He was miserable in Milwaukee. His ERA this year was 6, and they just lopped him off the roster. So he's an insurance policy pickup because they do have starters that are nicked. But can he be what we all thought maybe he would be when he first got to San Diego or what he showed in Milwaukee? At this point, there's been no consistency. Alek Thomas can't hit. Good glove, real fast guy, super utility outfielder. He's at Oklahoma City right now. They're not going to bring him up at this point in time, but that's an athlete that maybe he can hit back to what he was when he first came to the major leagues. But in the last year and a half, he's not been real good at all. Okay, that's a look at the Angels. That's a look at the Dodgers. John, beat LA, beat LA. Let's talk about tonight.
Here we go. This is a big series, Lee. And, you always pose the question, is this a rivalry? What do you think?
Well, I went back and did research. So I want Dodger fan watching this podcast, Padre fan watching this podcast. Tell me what you think. The all-time record, the Dodgers have dominated the series. In the playoffs, the Dodgers had the edge over the Padres. In 2025, just last year, the Dodgers won 9 of 13 against the Friars. Now, in 2024, which was that unique season, the Padres beat the Dodgers 8 of the 13 times they played them. But since COVID, since 2020, when the Padres got good, the Dodgers have beaten them 55 times to 32 losses. And here's the historical footnote. The Padres have one season series in which they've won in the last 15 years against Dodger baseball. But there's no doubt it's a fun series. There's no doubt the fans get emotionally involved. I close my eyes and I still see Jurickson and Profar jumping up and down in left field, and Tatis going over the wall to make a home run catch. But at the end of the day, the Dodgers have dominated this series. So is it truly a great rivalry, John? Go ahead.
Well, it is a rivalry. I mean, it meets the definition of the word rivalry. These are two teams that are competitive. They're both striving for championships. It's just been a lopsided rivalry. I mean, it's been a rivalry. Just, you just said the numbers don't lie. And I look at those, the season series. Once in 15 years, the Padres have won the season series. So it's a rivalry. It's just, there's just one very dominant team. So even like some of the guys, because when the Padres are on television lately, they're getting national broadcasters talking about the Padres-Dodgers series, and even they agree it's one of the best, if not the best, rivalry in baseball today. And I think it meets all the criteria for a rivalry. The Padres has just got to even the score.
Yeah, they've got to win some series. And again, the playoff series a couple of years ago when the Padres actually had the lead and looked like the Dodgers were on the brink of going home, and that didn't work out. I mean, that captured the fancy of an awful lot of people, but at the end of the day, did not get the job done. Now, tonight, first of 13 games are going to play against each other, so that's going to be fascinating going forward. Because we're baseball-centric, we're not done. Quickly into the MLB notebook on our Monday bonus podcast.
Monday bonus podcast. We got Yankees, Mets, Rockies, and the Blue Jays.
Yeah, let's just talk about storylines other places. New York Yankees. Bad news. Max Fried, bone bruise elbow. Hauled him off the mound against the Orioles over the weekend. He's going to be out indefinitely. Luckily, he did not tear any ligaments. Luckily for the Yankees, they're getting Garrett Cole back. Carlos Rondon is back. Cole, by the way, was captured throwing 99 miles an hour in his final rehab start at Scranton Wilkes-Barre. So the Yankees are losing one of their aces, but they're getting two other lead guys off that rotation back. New York Mets. I don't know if you saw the video of this. Starting pitcher Clayton Holmes got hit on a 111-mile-an-hour comebacker to the mound. Badly fractured leg. They thought about surgery. At this point, they have not decided on surgery, but he's going to be out indefinitely. It was a pretty wicked shot that he took, and he lost his battery mate. Their catcher, Francisco Alvarez, he's going to be gone 8 weeks, major meniscus tear in his knee. Rockies, they don't have enough pitching, and now they don't have either one of their number 1 and 2 starters. Chase Dollinger, who we've seen pitch pretty well against the Padres last year and this year, has been placed on the disabled list. He's got a sprained elbow. And, of course, Kyle Freeland has just never recovered from all the shoulder issues that he's had there. And in Toronto, plagued by injuries to their pitching staff, season-ending surgery, Jose Berrios, who's been a workhorse in Toronto and other places he's been. Berrios is gone, fractured elbow. So, and John, I wrote on my best 15 minutes in sports today, the list of injuries this weekend in baseball was staggering. It was like 20 guys got hurt. A bunch of them wound up on the disabled list. So some big names here that are coming off rosters right now.
Yeah, you're right. I saw that list and it was huge. I mean, there's so many players going down. But let me kind of take a different take here. What's your thoughts on this whole MLB rivalry weekend? Do you think it works? Do you think is it just a gimmick? Or I mean, I can see it works, Yankees Mets, but Padres Mariners. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I concur with you. It's a nice gadget. It's a nice gimmick. They didn't promote it very well. Is it the right position to promote it? But, to get back to your initial shot, Padres Mariners, that's not a rivalry. Nobody gives a damn about the, quote, Vetter Cup. Eddie Vedder doesn't give a damn about the Vetter Cup.
That's right.
Unless we're betting beers. But, the rivalry is the Padres-Dodgers. But the problem is the Dodgers have a historic rivalry with the Giants, and the Dodgers have a historic rivalry with the Angels. So what do? Maybe they should make the Padres-Arizona, because the geographical proximity, be a close rivalry. So that to me is a bit of an issue. How do you find somebody to locate? Yes, you got the Cincinnati Reds in Cleveland. Yes, you got Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Yes, you got Yankee Stadium, Citi Field. They got Boston, Atlanta, which is a weird rivalry, but the Atlanta Braves used to be the Boston Braves, so I guess I understand that. And you got the Cubs and the White Sox, but some other ones just logistically don't fit. So it's a novel idea. I don't think it applies to everybody, especially since San Diego, Seattle, just because they share spring training. No, I don't think so.
No, I mean, but the idea, packaging games when the Mets and the Yankees can play each other every year, that's great. They just don't need to do it on a rivalry weekend because it just seems like it's a very made-up thing. But at any rate, I saw the play of Clay Holmes when he got hit, and he got up. Didn't he get up and throw that ball back? Just like adrenaline does crazy things.
Yeah, and it came back and pitched to another batter or two, and then obviously they took him to the dugout, and fractured leg. But man, that ball got on him so quick, 111 miles an hour. Okay, that's a peek inside the baseball notebook. Just a reminder, our Monday bonus podcast. We had to start late today. I used the term technology. Technology is great when it works, and when technology doesn't work, and John and I put out a lot of fires today. But the word of the day today is FUBAR. We got this thing on. You won't believe how hard it was to get this podcast on. We're only going to be able to do 1 hour today. We're using baling wire and Scotch tape to make this podcast work. But Thursday, we'll be back at our normal schedule at 1:30. All things baseball. John, shooting three-point shots, basketball. Wow.
Yeah, the Lakers. A lot of big questions for the offseason for Rob Pelinka.
Yeah, there are basketball games being played tonight and this week of unbelievable importance. Lakers, summer of decisions. Good headline there, John. You came up with CROSSROADS. Burning question. Who's going to make the decision? What type of decision will it be for LeBron James? Does he play next year? Does he retire next year as he turns 42? Is LeBron willing to take a pay cut? I know of nobody that I've canvassed within the circles of the NBA that believes anybody's going to pay him $52 million. Would the Lakers take that money, let him leave, and retrofit the roster around Luka Doncic using LeBron's $52 million? Now understand this, they've also got to re-sign Austin Reeves, who will opt out. That'll be a $40 million investment. Then the wild card, how do they make this roster better? Everybody's placing bids on Giannis of Milwaukee. At what point do you take on a 32-year-old guy who's had 2 years of injuries, and now there's attitude questions? And at what price? Now, the Lakers, for the first time, have the right to trade 3 first-round draft picks because this cycle has come up now where they have picks in alternating years. You can package those picks in alternating years and trade them, but who are you going to go get? And I think the stunner to me, as we get ready for the NBA Eastern Western Conference Finals, you look at the makeup of the roster in Oklahoma City, you look up at the makeup of the roster in San Antonio. The Laker roster compare favorably at all to anything OKC or anything in SA? No, not at all. The Lakers are saying they want LeBron back. I ask what price, what role, and how you're going to fix everything around LeBron. John, go ahead. Don't turn the ball over. Hit a three-point shot with me.
Well, I have a question for you, Lee. I mean, LeBron is under contract, right? It's not like there's an option for next year. So
no, he's an unrestricted free agent.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, they have big decisions to make. I thought he was still under contract. At any rate, I mean, the right thing to do for the Lakers is to reboot with Luka as the focal point, as the center of this offense and defense. I mean, but let LeBron go somewhere else. I mean, have there been any franchises that have expressed interest? I mean, we've talked about rumors to the Cavaliers, to the Warriors, but does anyone really want LeBron?
At this point, not at that price. And at this point, if you're going to go get a star, aren't you better served to go get Giannis? Even though the price tag to get him out of Milwaukee would be steep, he's still got more gas left in the tank, I would think, than LeBron does. I think once a decision is made on relocation for Giannis, then I think LeBron comes back into the mix. And it's a little too early right now to theorize what other free agents might still be available. But the Lakers, if they're going to change, now they're going to have to clear cap space, and they're going to have to find people that want to come there. And do they trade for other people, and who are those other people? Because at this point, we don't know who else aside from Giannis might be on the trading block. It's a really intriguing story. Okay, we go from that. Let's talk playoffs. Wow.
I mean, yeah, we got OKC and the Spurs coming up, and this is a battle of superstars.
This is the championship series, John. This is absolutely amazing. You got the Thunder. You ready for this? OKC's record as they come on the floor to open the Western Conference Finals against San Antonio. OKC's record is 72-18 now, regular season and postseason. Think about that, 72-18. SGA is the MVP in the league. You got Holmgren. You got Hartenstein. Jalen Williams comes back healthy. You got a bench bunch, and they have chokehold defense and athletes that just run all night long. Fascinating story. Now, on the other side of the court, Wembanyama is obviously a superstar, and he's surrounded by some pretty good firepower. De'Aaron Fox is a player, obviously. Stephon Castle, the first-round pick. Harper, the kid coming off the bench. Vassell, that's a pretty good San Antonio team, too. Burning question will be the matchups. You got the Thunder. Can they defend against Wemby? How is Holmgren and Hartenstein going to hold up against all things Wembanyama? But the Spurs, don't the Spurs have to dictate tempo? Because I don't think San Antonio can stay in this if this thing becomes a track meet because of turnovers, athleticism, and fast break basketball. So I'm just unbelievably fascinated by this series. I think this is the NBA Championship Series. Just briefly, the other matchup in the East will begin in the middle of the week. You got Cleveland, New York Knicks. That's going to be all about firepower. I mean, you got a Cavalier team led by Donovan Mitchell, who's getting recognition as a true star. You got the old guy next to him, James Harden. You got Sam Merrill hitting threes coming off the bench. You got two bigs, Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, who have stayed healthy finally. That's a pretty dangerous Cleveland basketball team. And you got the Knicks and Jalen Brunson, and the Knicks and Anunoby, and the Knicks and McBride and Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns and Mike Brown, who's had a really mystical year in coaching. I think that Cleveland Knicks series is going to be a firepower series up and down the floor all night, but I'm just so enamored with OKC San Antonio. John, the podium belongs to you.
Well, I'm enamored too, and I'm always enamored watching Wemby, but at the same time, Chet Holmgren is sort of a similar guy. I mean, they're both these daddy long leg guys with these incredibly long limbs, but they have athletic moves, and they're very different for a big man. So this will be a very entertaining series. My heart is with Spurs. It's hard to go against the OKC with their track record, but you're right. This is the championship series. On the other side, I mean, it's always good to have New York in the finals. So maybe we'll get some games at Madison Square Garden for the NBA Finals. That'd be terrific. But here, this is must-see TV between these two teams.
I concur. We go from that. Let's peek inside the NBA notebook on our Monday bonus podcast.
Yeah, a lot of fireworks with the Bucks.
A lot of trouble with the Bucks. Players now speaking out about the Bucks leadership and Giannis, the Bucks superstar. Miles Turner jumped from Indiana, took a big money contract to go to Milwaukee. Now, he got hurt, but what he saw, he did not like at all, and it's a huge problem. And since the end of the season, Milwaukee has gotten rid of Doc Rivers, and now Milwaukee has put Giannis on the trade block, and they're taking offers and transactions for him. Rivers removed. Miles Turner said this franchise this past year lacked focus, pride, and professionalism. And he said players were late to practice, late to meetings, late to flights, including Giannis. And he blamed Doc Rivers for letting the entire thing deteriorate. And he wrapped up his interview with one of the members of the Milwaukee Journal saying, there is no professional pride in this organization right now. Ouch. That's an amazing story. Meanwhile, the trade rumors have started to swirl. Miami has placed a bid in with Milwaukee to get access to Giannis, and the Miami bid involves their star guard, Tyler Hero, one of their big men, Kel'el Ware, and multiple number one picks for Giannis. Boston has evidently had conversation. Nobody will say who's in the deal, but the rumor is Boston would be willing to part with Jaylen Brown, the outspoken guard, and draft picks to get Giannis. Golden State is in the equation. Even though Giannis is 32, they'd like to pair him possibly in a deal with get Stephon Curry to play alongside him. Golden State would have to give up Jimmy Butler and multiple number one picks to make that deal happen. And the last one is Orlando, and this has come out of nowhere yesterday. Orlando, which has got a lot of young firepower talent, Orlando might be willing to give away Paolo Banchero, their high-scoring swingman, and number one picks to get Giannis. So that's at least 4 offers. We don't know how many number one picks there are, but if you put a marquee player in the package, maybe you don't have to go up 3 or 4 number ones, but those are the ones that are bidding on him. So what's your response to the mess in Milwaukee with leadership with Doc and the way Giannis acted?
Yeah, I mean, the way you explain it, Doc Rivers is a problem here. He's not, I mean, the head coach is the one that sets the culture of the clubhouse, you know, the expectations for the players on and off the court. But Doc Rivers has this sort of history where when he's interviewed, he is just striking as a very attractive, competent, strategic, like a kind of coach that you want to hire, but he ends up failing a lot wherever he seems to go. So there seems to be more going on behind the scenes with Doc Rivers. I mean, what's your take, Lee?
It sure sounds like he let this thing deteriorate. And, you know, if you go back and look at his record, yes, 1-loss record, regular season good, no success postseason anywhere. That comes back to haunt you. He's probably done in the NBA. But this is really intriguing that Miles Turner went public and ripped on Giannis, saying Giannis was as big a problem as anybody else, and Doc let it go on and on and on. Those are all things.
Superstars getting treated with kid gloves. I mean, that's nuts. And by the way, Jimmy Butler was, when he was healthy, was a really nice, wingman for Steph. I mean, it'd be kind of fun to be able to keep, to keep all that group together, but you got to give up something to get something if the Warriors want to get Giannis.
Well, one of the sidebar angles would be you make this trade, Butler and draft picks go to Milwaukee, you bring Giannis in, and then you get LeBron to come on a low-money contract for his farewell tour with good players around him. So intriguing to see where that goes. We are at halftime. This podcast brought to you by Dixie Line Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. John, you and I have both done business with Dixie Line. What impresses you the most about Dixie Line Lumber and the 8 locations to serve people in San Diego?
There's a lot of things to like about Dixie Line Lumber, but I think for a lot of people in San Diego, they think of Dixie Line as your local hardware store where you could buy power tools and hardware and, get some lumber for a project you're building at home, maybe upgrade your doors and windows. And Dixie Line is fantastic for the needs of a homeowner or a do-it-yourselfer. What typically blows people away about Dixie Line is what we're seeing on the screen here, is that over half, actually approximately half of their business is to the trade, to builders, to contractors. And so if you look at a lot of the big home developments, not just in San Diego County, but in other parts of San Diego, in other parts of Southern California, quite often Dixie Line is the supplier of that lumber because they have high quality lumber that they get from trusted sources up in the Northwest. So they're a great partner for the builder, for the contractor, but also it's just a suite of sweet solutions for the homeowner, for the do-it-yourselfer.
Got projects? Go to Dixieline.com to see all the things they have to offer. We're at halftime. Our FUBAR podcast continues. We apologize for being late, but John and I both had technical things that we had to work through. We got this sucker on the air with baling wire and Scotch tape. I appreciate all the hard work, and we appreciate you staying with us. We're going to just do the podcast today, only an hour long because that's the max limit. On Thursday, when we rejoin you, we will be back, and you'll be taking over this podcast with your part of Fans 4. Do want you to check my website. I write on it every day of the week, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You get the best 15 minutes in sports. You get my one man's opinion column every day of the week. Subscribe. Get on the email list, because when you do that, you'll get 2 newsletters a day from us. I send out one in the morning. John sends out one in the afternoon. Become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. You can help us grow this podcast. Thumbs up, hit the follow button, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple TV. John, we move to the second half. We have covered all things baseball. We've hit 3-point shots in basketball. Let's quickly talk news and notes around the NFL, and the schedule's out.
Yeah, there's some news here on the television setup. Let's hear it, Lee.
Yeah, let's just start first of all with the TV situation. The league put out the entire schedule. We're going to break down the Raiders and the Rams and the Chargers and the Broncos and the Chiefs in just a minute. But the league put out the TV schedule, and not everybody was happy. First things first, I'm just shocked. They're making the 49ers play 2 international games, one in Australia. That's a 19-hour trip. The other in Mexico City. That's at 8,000 feet altitude. Really stunned by that. Kind of stunned by how they've located the Rams all over the place. But the people who are really upset, there's 5 teams that did not get any primetime games. And it's the first time in league history, because they had a bylaw that they put on the books that everybody would rotate in and get at least one primetime game every couple of years, regardless of good season or bad. Well, they just decided, no, we're not going to force our TV providers with bad matchups. So there's some people that are really unhappy. And the league told the teams like Arizona, Cleveland, the Raiders, the Jets, they told them, you play your way into prime time by winning games. It's on you to have a better product. And then they told them, yeah, we have the flex schedule. You find a way to win games to get into the flex games in December and January. So the league has really responded strongly to the people that were upset that they did not get any primetime games. Colorado. I don't know why Deion Sanders says this stuff, but Deion Sanders just keeps yapping. Deion Sanders, this weekend in Boulder, critical of the Cleveland Browns, critical of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He said neither one of those teams called him to ask about coaching up Shedeur Sanders or coaching up Travis Hunter. And Deion said, you would think, I'm the coach, I'm his father, I could provide them insight as to how to hit his hot buttons and help him grow. And look what I did with Travis Hunter. And he said, I was shocked that either the Browns nor the Jaguars coaching staff would call me and just ask for insight into the guys that I helped grow. And then at the same time, Deion popped off and talked about the other son Shiloh Sanders, who's kind of washed out of his chances in the NFL. Shiloh Sanders last week went on the attack, ripped a Cleveland Browns female beat writer who had written that Deshaun Watson should be the starting quarterback because Shadour's not grown. And he pulled a sexist comment out. Shiloh said she should quit her job and go back and start making sandwiches. Terrible. And she's well renowned. A pretty good reputation as a beat writer and a person that breaks stories. And yet Shiloh kind of rubbed it in that she's a female. She's not qualified for this job. Yikes. And here's Dion. Dion defending Shiloh saying, hey, he was talking about his bro. He's got a right to say anything he wants. So I don't know why he would say that. Last story involves the Rams. They got an issue. Kevin Demoff, the president of the Rams, has now been joined into this lawsuit, the Rose Bowl lawsuit with UCLA, trying to get them out of the Rose Bowl contract, which goes to 2043. They have text and emails with Kevin Demoff giving information to UCLA how to claim breach of contract of the Rose Bowl so they could become the third tenant at SoFi Stadium. SoFi Stadium, built by Rams owner, you know who. He's unbelievable. He's done a lot of great things. But Demoff is now trying to help UCLA get out of his contract. Now Demoff has been dragged into this lawsuit because he works for Stan Kroenke. That's a really ugly story. So, John, what do you say to the New York Jets in Arizona? Your TV guide comment. You want to talk about Neon Dion and talk about Kevin Demoff?
This TV deal kind of reminds me of what's going on in college football with the Big Ten and the SEC. They get the primetime games, the group of five, or group of six, they're not getting on television. I just remember back when, before cable TV, when we only had, 3 broadcast networks plus some local stations, that it was rare for your team to be in the national spotlight. It was a rare opportunity, and you hated it when your team finally got the shot and then laid an egg, and you had to wait like 2 or 3 years before they got on television again. That's how I grew up as a 49er fan in the 70s. So I see why this is important to teams. But in the end, yeah, man, if you tune into a national broadcast on Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, the Thanksgiving games, you want to see the legit team. So you don't want to see Jacksonville against the Raiders. You want to see some of the marquee teams, some of the teams that are like really tearing it up that season. So I don't blame the NFL for doing it. It just sucks if you're one of those bottom feeders and they're getting what they deserve. Dion, I'm sure the teams don't want to call Dion because they don't want to open up that can of worms to have Dion like as the wingman for the bunch of the coaches. I can see why they wouldn't call him, but they really should have. I get it. I get the point. And this whole SoFi thing, it's a contract. You got to stick with contracts when they're signed. I don't know why guys think they can wiggle out of it.
That's where we are as it relates to the notebook. We go from that. Let's talk about the NFL schedule, John. Just a quick look at storylines. Nice headline. 2026 for these teams, Game of Survivor. The Chargers will open the season 2-0. Chargers play Arizona and the Raiders to start. John, look at the next 7 games after they go 2-0. At Buffalo, play the Super Bowl champ Seahawks, meet Bo Nix in Denver, go to Arrowhead. That is Matthew Stafford after that and the Rams, your nemesis C.J. Stroud, and you go to Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. Holy cow. Their season could be over by the time we get to mid-October. Rams, rugged. Look at this schedule. Niners, down under in Australia. Harbaugh game with the Giants. At Denver against Sean Payton. At Philadelphia against Jalen Hurts. At Buffalo. Those are all consecutive games. Then the home schedule, colorful. Not easy, though. Get the Packers, get Kansas City, get Dallas at SoFi. And then they finish up at the end of the season at Seattle, at Tampa on back-to-back weeks, and the final game, Seattle in Los Angeles. What a rugged schedule. The Raiders, tough out of the gate. Chargers, KC, cross-country to meet New England. Then they get Buffalo and they get the Rams. What a challenge for whomever the quarterback is going to be to start the season. And how about the beginning of the season for Sean Payton, Bo Nix, and Denver? I don't think they're going to win 14 games this coming season. Look at that. At Arrowhead, Jaguars, Rams, 49ers, at the Chargers, and then the Seahawks, all on consecutive weeks for Denver. In Kansas City, now they say they're changing the personality of their offense. They think that Mahomes will be ready opening day. Look at the list of big-name teams they play on consecutive weeks. John, like you say, good headline, game of survivor. I wonder how these teams are going to survive all this.
Yeah, they got to run the gauntlet. I mean, look at that. They're going to get smacked around for weeks on end. But I got to give it up to the NFL. I like the fact that they have a structure to their schedule where they have a rotation with one of the divisions in the other conference. And, they're going to play home and away with their own conference. So there's sort of a method to the madness on how the schedule is built. I wish college football had a similar kind of system to it. But when you break it out like this and you see this lineup of teams, I mean, especially look at the one for the Rams. I mean, it could barely fit on the screen, all those tough games. I mean, this is going to be a great season, Lee. And just by the way, do you think the Raiders are going to be making a step forward? Can you see either Kirk Cousins or the young kid Fernando Mendoza? Can the Raiders maybe compete for a playoff spot?
I think they'd be right on the periphery. Cousins will be the starting quarterback, which will give them a leg up in terms of veteran leadership and the ability to get the ball down the field. I think that the burning question right now will be, do they have enough on defense? Although they signed 6 veteran starters from other clubs, do they have enough on defense? So just the only word I got from NFL people that I canvassed this past week was brutal. That's how they viewed, most notably, everybody in the AFC West. Look at that schedule, brutal. Okay, we go from football because we're on the clock. Let's talk hockey.
Hockey hotline, and you got a game coming up in a few minutes.
Unbelievable. What an unbelievable run this playoff has been. On the ice, off the ice, a lot of different stories. Here comes Game 7 in the NHL series. The winner of this moves on. Montreal, Buffalo. You got 2 really good young teams, 2 very streaky young teams. I've never seen a playoff game where both goalies got knocked out because they played so poorly. That's what happened in Game 6 of this series in Montreal. I mean, the Canadiens had a 3-1 lead, and I thought this thing is over. And Buffalo came back and scored 7 straight goals and won, and both goaltenders got pulled. So tonight is Game 7 back in Buffalo. And how about this? Buffalo on home ice in the playoffs, John, is 2-5. Think about that, on home ice. And Montreal has already won in Buffalo. Montreal, of course, won their last series in Tampa. So that is interesting. Dateline Edmonton. Holy cow. You should read the columnist in Canada that I access. They are blaming the demise of the Edmonton Oilers not on Nick Knobloch, the head coach, but on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. That there's way too much politics, that McDavid and Draisaitl have had way too much input into player personnel decisions. It was not Knobloch's fault. In Toronto, they fired everybody. Now they fired Craig Berube, the head coach, after firing the general manager. They fired 2 assistant general managers today. Maple Leafs are shopping players. Not at this point, not Austin Matthews, but they're going to shop some other people along the way. And the Maple Leafs are going to interview Chris Knobloch, just ousted from Edmonton. Interesting story there. Ugly story in Vancouver. Controversial winger Evander Kane. Never seen anything like this before on social media. He wrote a 13-paragraph essay about his ex-wife, charging his ex-wife with attempting to destroy his current marriage and badly hurt his wife and the kids that they currently have. I've never seen anything like it. Evander Kane's got a track record, a history of problems off the ice that's a mile long. He put it all out on social media. I said, wow. LA Kings, going to be very interesting to see what they're going to do in terms of this coaching decision. Reports everywhere the Kings have interviewed Bruce Cassidy, the ex-Las Vegas and Boston head coach for the vacant Kings job, although they have not told DJ Smith, the interim, that he's no longer going to be in the running for the head coaching position. Interesting to see where that goes. So, John, a lot of hockey headlines.
Yeah, hockey hotline. Question for you, Lee. I mean, a little bit off topic here, but the Ducks, I mean, they had a nice run. You know, they came up short. I mean, what are some of the off-season moves you think the Ducks need to make?
They'll probably move one or two veterans off the roster who did not contribute much this season, whether those are contracts expired or whether, I don't know if they can trade them, but they just need to let this thing go and grow. I mean, they have so many good young guys, and they're bringing more guys from Europe in. Some of them are going to play next year for the San Diego Gulls. So I think the arrow is pointed up. I think Verbeek's blueprint, it took them a while to get there. They really suffered badly. I mean, his franchise went 8 years without being in the playoffs. They're getting a lot of accolades. So this is just a case where you grow this thing. I don't think there's anything radical left to be done because Pat Verbeek, the general manager, John, has to sign some of his younger players who are now up for arbitration. He's got to sign them to multi-year contracts. So that's going to eat up what cap space they have. But this franchise is just, I mean, it's hit the floor. It's finally gotten there. And now the next thing is this was a learning experience. Take it the next step forward next year. I don't think there'll be any blockbuster trades or shockers coming in. It's just grow the product. That's a really valid question, though. Okay, we go from all things hockey, hot headlines, off the sports wire. Let's run through this quickly.
San Diego FC at the top of the list.
How do I view this? San Diego FC ties Cincinnati 3-3, a game that they led. Gave up a goal in the 81st minute. So they get a point out of the tie. Or do I view it as you lost 2 points, you could have had a 3-point win. They need to stop the bleeding, and they're still bleeding. They've won only one of their last 10 matches. So that's where we are there in terms of SDFC. Next topic, Preakness. Tell you what, 14-horse sprint. I thought it would be a speed race. It was a speed race at the start. Taj Mahal stormed from the first post position to the lead and led all the way around the track till they came out of the fourth turn and ran out of gas. Napoleon Solo, winless this year, comes from far back in the pack. Napoleon Solo wins the Preakness. Iron Honor had a bad start, roared back, finished a strong second. As fast as the horse race was at the beginning, it turned out to be the slowest finishing time in Preakness modern-day history. So that sets up what's going to happen 3 weeks from now at Belmont, where the Kentucky Derby winner is going to be in the Belmont field. PGA Golf Championships. Man, I watched golf on Sunday. It was electric. You know, they had 4 days of bad weather, bad shots, bad greens. One day, John, it was 47 degrees in Philadelphia with wind. Another day, it was 20 miles an hour, constant wind. The greens were sloped. The greens got slick. The pin placements brought out a lot of criticism from a lot of people. It was brutally fast. And then a guy who'd only won one tournament in his life, journeyman at best, Aaron Rai, had an eagle at 9, birdies on 16 and 17, ice cube cool, finishes at 9 under. Everybody chased him and couldn't catch him. John Rahm had 1 birdie in 9 holes. He wound up finishing second. Rory McIlroy never survived the first day 74. He wound up at 4 under. Scotty Scheffler never got hot. His game is just not what it was before. He wound up at 2 under. And the guy who's always talking about golf, Bryson DeChambeau, he shot a 76 the first day, John, never made the cut. And both Grand Slam events DeChambeau's played in this year, he's failed to make the cut. So that was stunning. Last topic, Indy 500. That thing was plagued by rain. That thing was plagued by wind. That thing was plagued by searing hot weather. The weather kept changing at Indy. The car setups just became really screwy. Alex Palou had the 12th fastest time to get into the race. And then if you're in the top 12, you qualify then to go to the Fast Four. He wound up fixing his car in the final hours. Fast Four, it was where they run for the pole. Alex Palou went from 12th to win the pole and now becomes the hot guy to win the Indy 500 for the second year in a row. And, of course, he's a four-time points champion. Very, very emotional day for those guys that thought they had their car setups to all of a sudden it falls apart because the weather changed and the track changed. John, I pay attention to this. What a Sunday it was watching all this stuff on TV.
Oh, yeah. I mean, watching the final round of the PGA championship was terrific. And this kid, Ryan, like I had never heard of him. And it was nice that he was having a nice run there. You know, our local guy, Xander Schauffele, poked up on the score bug for a few holes and then kind of dropped down below the bottom threshold, and we didn't see him again. But it was a nice run. Did you see the backstory on Rye about how his family had struggled financially and dad bought the irons for him, and it was a big investment, and he protects his irons with iron covers, yep, which is kind of unusual, and he golfs with two gloves, which in some cases is sort of taboo, but, you know, he's his own man, and he was enjoying his day in the spotlight.
He's a little bit old school. You know, there was one point Saturday afternoon, late Saturday afternoon, John, there were 7 guys tied for the lead at 7 under. What a traffic jam atop the leaderboard. And I thought, holy cow, Sunday is going to be wild. And on Sunday, they all fell apart. And here comes Erin Rye out of nowhere, just steady as she goes, cool as an ice cube, and gets the victory. I mean, it's a memory of a lifetime. John, that's where we are. We have covered topics on the table. We survived this. Today was a day of FUBAR, and we got through it. We did a whistle clean podcast today with pretty good content along the way. You did a good job, but you promised me there'd be no FUBAR, and we had a day of FUBAR experiences.
Hacksaw MacGyver with the duct tape and the baling wire. So it all worked out. We
appreciate you being with us. And again, rain check. We're going to rain check everybody because we don't have the ability to do Fans Forum today. But we will be back Thursday at 1:30. We will do an autopsy on Dodgers-Padres, the beginning of the NBA playoffs in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, where we are in the Stanley Cup playoffs and other assorted topics Thursday at 1:30. Take the rain check because your Fans Forum will be able to be part of that program then. This podcast brought to you by Dixon Line Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects, they got materials, you want ideas, they can be your best friend and consultant. Go to dixieline.com to see what they have to offer. John, Gold Star job today. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy. Beat LA, beat LA. We'll see you come Thursday.
Yeah, beat LA and go Sabres. Here we go.
Have yourself a great evening. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Thursday on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.